Hello, how are you? Welcome, Embodied Oracle Show. I'm super excited to be here. It's been a minute since I've been able to pop in here and do a live. And so welcome. If you're joining me live, please say hi. Tell me where you're, joining from. I wanted to talk today about integrating change because there has been so much happening lately. There's been so much. And if you follow my Soulcast and energy reports that I do at the beginning of every month, I said that this week is going to be the world card. There's a lot of integration of some of the changes that have taken place. We have a new moon this weekend. So just lots of really amazing energy to work with. But I wanted to share with you from my heart what I've been noticing and what I feel like would really support you in integrating the change that may have taken place for you recently. So I have noticed with my clients that it's almost as if, during this last eclipse that was over a week ago, and I think that was on Cinco de Mayo. So just to give you on the 5th of May, just in case you're like Cinco de Mayo, just to give you some context, it feels as if for a lot of people, what was not aligned fell away, dropped away, moved out of their energy. It could have been relationships, jobs, just, behavioral patterns, whatever. And I think that when things change without your request, let's put it like that, without your actual request and demand for the change, that it can be disconcerting. It's like, oh my gosh, why is this happening? So I'm going to get into that topic today of what you can do to really become the master and manipulate energy so that you can have things always working out for you instead of feeling like you are a victim to what's going on. Before I jump in, I just want to share really quick that my mastermind, Majestic Mastermind, is open right now. And this is for women who really want to become their thriving future selves now. It's a year-long journey with me. We're going to be doing the multidimensional healing work to be able to become your thriving self, to be able to hold the frequency of what you desire, to have tangible life shifts and changes. And it's not about future tripping. It's about understanding who you want to be in the future, that identity, and becoming her now, and being in a container where you're coached, loved upon, like doing new moon, futuring rituals and all sorts of things, learning from me in master classes in order to really transcend and become the highest version possible for you right now. So if you want to learn more about that, message me. But what I want to share today, and if you're just joining, tell me where you're joining from. Love to say hi. If you're catching the replay, #replay, hearts, likes, love is always so supportive and helpful for these videos. So integrating the changes that may have been taking place for you. So I want you to think about when change happens, and I was saying earlier, when it's not something that you have initiated on your own. Let's just say, like, sometimes you want change. Sometimes you're like, I'm going to go to the gym and I want to get super healthy and I want to, I'm going to do this so I can get a result. That's change that you are behind. But sometimes in life, change comes in our reality, and it's not something that you were even asking for, let alone even want, right? Could be something where you're like, this is not helpful. This feels painful. I did a reel recently about being reactive. So I want to talk to you about that first and foremost. Reactivity. When something happens in your world and you're not digging it at all, and the way that you are going to react to it, and how you can lose days, hours, minutes, just from being in a reaction to something. And it's okay that you have a reaction. You're not a robot. You're not supposed to, just be numb. That's not what this is about. But when you lose yourself in an emotional reaction, like when I say lose yourself, it's like something happens and it takes you a while of time to come out of it. You know, let's say your partner does something that upsets you and that you're stewing and you're thinking about it and you're talking about it. Or let's say it's even something bigger than that. And you get to decide how you're going to react to the very things that happen. But if you don't have a grounding and centering within yourself, if you have not had a chance to get really resilient in your life, you could find yourself just being pulled in different directions because you have deemed that what is happening is bad, wrong, or not right for you. And I think the thing that really is an incredible reframe is to understand that you are in relationship to source and to this life, to this universe, however you want to call it. And if you're in relationship with something, that means that you're not a spectator, but you're an active participant. And if you're an active participant, you have to pay attention to how you're showing up. You have to look at how you have been complicit in the things that have shown up in your life. Because if you're just like, oh, this keeps happening to me, why me? I'm the victim of this, like everybody's so mean to me all the time, or, you know, I have all this drama always happening, or whatever your story is. And you're just looking at it as, I don't get it. Girl, you better slow down and you better take a good, hard look at what's going on. This is what I've been doing. This is what my life has asked me to do recently. I had a series of things happening where I was like, God, I could just look at this and think this is all random, but it's not. The common denominator in some of the things that have been happening in my reality is me. And I am someone who really wants to listen to what life is trying to tell me. And I had an opportunity with this last eclipse from you know, in my growth trajectory personally, to operate from a new level of boundaries. And as my daughters would call it, to get to be a baddie. And it's interesting when you get hurt by something in life. Like I got hurt by someone, let's just say, and it was something that's, been going on for a while, a pattern. I love, if you work with me, that I love to look at patterns, and I love to see patterns objectively and not make it so personal. But I've had this pattern where I've always, I feel guilty in certain, relationships, and I allow things to continue to go on and be perpetuated because I don't want to deal with the discomfort of just walking away from something or saying no to something. And this is something that's been going on my entire life. And we all have these patterns that we operate from. And so for me, it was realizing, okay, life is trying to tell me something. And I've been working on getting clearer in my boundaries, more discerning with how I show up in my life and where I put my energy. And I was given an opportunity to exercise that. Now, one could say, like, if you actually, knew the whole story, and I'm not going to share the whole story because it's not important to it, but if you knew the story, you'd be like, well, is that really what that was? And I think the thing is it comes back to your reaction of what is happening in your reality. And of course you're going to react if somebody hurts you, or if you lose your job, or whatever's going on, your health is in question. You're going to react because react. But when are you going to get a hold of yourself? When are you going to look at it and say to yourself, wait a second, I have been asking, I've been asking for more aligned relationships in my life, friendships. I have an amazing, incredible partner, and I have amazing friends, but I've been really cleaning up house and old energetics that used to operate in my life. And I was really in this space where I want to elevate who I am and how I show up in my purpose and my mission and with my kids and everything, my partner. And in order to do so, sometimes the very thing that you have not been able to see that's been in your blind spot gets yanked out of your life or shifts or something happens. And instead of thinking, why is this happening to me as if I'm the victim, I want you to say, how is this happening for me? Is this related to something that I've been working on? Maybe you can't see it right at first. But is this related to something? Is there a divine sequencing that's happening right now in relationship to something that I've been asking for? And this is where it gets kind of confusing sometimes, because you could be like, well, I wasn't asking for that. But maybe that very thing that was being ripped out of your life is the thing that is blocking you or not supporting you and going to your next level. And that could be whatever. Maybe it's your money issues. Maybe it's the way that you don't see your own worthiness. But it requires you to slow down and to do the work of going within yourself and asking the questions. And this is what I do in all of my coaching, is I don't just tell you, because I am a multidimensional healer and oracle. Like, I can see all the timelines and I can see things, but most importantly is that you see it, that you start to understand from a place of sovereignty and empowerment. Yeah, why am I operating like this in my reality? What is this pattern? Is this related to something? Is this just happening in this one part of my life, or is it happening in other parts of my life? Because I can guarantee you, if you're not showing up in your worthiness within yourself, it's not going to just be in how you're making money. It's going to also be in your friendships. It's going to be in how you parent. It's going to be in many different areas. And when you start to understand this, the term congruency, that how you show up in one area is going to impact and affect other areas. Because I hope that you're not living like split in half, where in one part of your life you show up one way and another you show up a different way. Because that's too much work, and that means that you're not living in full a hell yes alignment with yourself, in your spirit, your soul. So if you're living in alignment, you want to have congruency, and you want to be showing up in your life in the totality of your being. And so you understand that one pattern that you work on affects all aspects of your life. That's what I love about the work that I do with women, is when they start to see like, oh gosh, if I can shift this in this area, of course it's going to have a natural effect and impact on the other areas. But this is what I want you to think about today. This is what I want you to think about. If you were to stop making something right or wrong, good or bad, and just saw it as an event or a thing, and I know this is challenging. I'm not going to sit here and say to you, like, if you're having health issues or your heart is broken, that it's simple to do this. Otherwise, everybody would do it. But the truth is that thing that's happening in your reality, if you could just get neutral, not good, bad, right, wrong, just like, okay, this is happening. What is this all about? What is this wanting to teach me, show me? Because when change happens, if you're in a space of opposition, resistance to it, it's not going to work its magic. It's actually when you're looking at it and framing it as this is not good for me, like this is bad. It's almost like you're hitting the pause button on life, like you're snoozing life, and you're like, I can't deal with life, so therefore I'm hitting the snooze button and I'm just staying in bed and I'm going to pull the covers over my head. That's what you're doing. And that's not going to get you to the life that you want. How do you create a limitless life? You operate from the energetics of limitlessness. Like, whatever's happening in my reality is trying to teach me, help me to elevate, help me to grow. But too often there's this mindset of, I can't handle this, or this must be, or you make yourself wrong, or whatever. There's so many different things that happen. But I'm talking about when you come into a space of neutrality and just see it as like, this is an event, and my reaction and my ability to either be empowered by it or suffer from it is in my own hands. And I want a limitless life. I want to be the most amazing, live the most amazing version of my life that's possible. So are you going to make something on a daily basis that happens to you a mountain or a molehill? Like, are you going to be like so focused on your little shit that happens every single day that that you get lost in reactivity, that you do not have the emotional mastery to sustain the frequency of that which you really desire? Because I'll tell you what, if you can't handle the small stuff, you're really going to have a tough time when you're dealing with bigger stuff, bigger changes. Because when you want to grow and expand, you'll be asked to make bigger decisions. And if you're not equipped with knowing how to trust your intuition, if you're not equipped with working with source and feeling that resiliency within yourself, you will feel adrift. You'll feel like you're just out floating somewhere and you don't know where you're going. You have to know what your North Star is in your life. You have to have an understanding of where you're heading. That's why everything I do is about becoming your future self. It's not because you're waiting for some far off distant thing in the future. It's because you have to know what you're tracking for. You have to have some understanding of what you want to expand into, and it can change year after year. And it doesn't have to be, I want the Tesla, I want the home. Yeah, great. But do you want to be a better person? Do you want more limitlessness? Do you want to be free? Do you want to have more abundance? Yes. And yet, you let all the little shit of your life take up so much space. So what do you tell the universe? I can't handle bringing in more abundance because I can't even handle what's right in front of me, what's in the here and now. This game of life is about being present. It's about sitting like a freaking Jedi master and being like in your meditation space and being like, okay, God, this really hurts. Like, I don't like this thing that's happening. And yet I trust you and I trust me and I trust that this is moving me towards where I want to go. I trust that I have the ability and capacity to do great things. So you learn to get neutral after you feel your initial reaction. After the big change or shift happens, you go, okay, this is happening. What can I do with this? How can I get quiet within my being and start to see this as just an event, just like you see the patterns that you're operating from that are no longer helpful to you. You don't see it as your personality. You can, but that's such a deep attachment. And speaking of attachment, you might be so attached to how you think your reality is going to go that like when something doesn't go your way because you're in such a controlling mode of your life that there's no room for anything else. And that is not supportive of miracles. Miracles happen when you are surrendered and you are trusting the divine sequencing of your life. You said, I want this. My soul really wants a family. Or my soul wants to, or my spirit, however you want to say it, wants to serve community in this certain way. And you have a vision and you're holding the vision, but yet certain things get in the way in between. And instead of going, oh, that's telling me I'm not, like, I want you to notice the signs of your life. When something gets really, really, really overwhelmingly difficult and you're not enjoying life, there's a probably good chance that you're on the wrong path. But when change comes and you stay neutral and you're like, that's not that big of a deal. Like that interaction I had with that human being, okay, where could I shift and see the lesson in that? Move on, and then you're like, okay, what's next? But when you hit the snooze button on life and you're like, I can't deal with this. I can't deal with the job I don't like. I can't deal with my partner being like this. Ladies, that is a wake-up call. Your alarm is going to get louder and louder and louder in your life if you don't listen to it. If you don't like something and you continue to show up for it, it's nobody else's fault but your own. I know that's harsh, but it's true. I say the same thing to myself. If I don't like something and yet I keep showing up and I keep being complicit to it, whose fault is it? Is it somebody else's fault? Sorry, a phone call just came in. It's nobody else's fault if you keep saying yes to the things that you don't want to do and you keep pushing the snooze button for your life. You can't blame anybody else. I see too many women saying, well, when I look better, I'll start dating. When I get to this level of financial stuff, then I'll do this thing. Stop wasting your precious life force energy and live life to the fullest. Do the very things that you want to do. But it starts with being able to integrate the changes that are happening in reality and trusting that they are happening for your greatest good. And that you, beautiful soul, like had something to do with some of the things, like these things that are happening in reality. That they're not just like completely, sometimes there's random stuff that happens, of course. But a lot of it is because you said yes to something a long time ago, or you were operating from a wound and things have changed. And you might still be bringing something into your reality that you don't want to anymore. So then you get to change that. That's the power of waking up to who you really are and how powerful you are at the deepest levels. And it's not from blaming or complaining. It's about being quiet and really allowing yourself to see everything that's happening as moving the needle towards what you really want, even if it doesn't seem like it. Because maybe that thing that's not going in the direction that you want opens up as, let's say you got, this happened to me. I'll use an example just so you guys can really land, I can land the plane for you. When I was, my God, when I used to be in corporate America, I got laid off from 3 jobs, over and over and over again. It was the most ridiculous thing. I was like, what is going on? I got laid off from pharmaceuticals, and I go get this other job selling red light camera enforcement. Do you guys remember, it's the worst thing to sell, in a way, because it's nobody wants it in their city. But I was going to city councils and doing all this. Then I get laid off because something happened in the company. All these things. And by the 3rd time, I was like, well, wait a second. And I was, oh my God, the stories I made up about myself. I was like, oh, something must be wrong. I missed, why does this keep happening to me? Just oh, woe's me. Oh my God, I want to go back to that girl and just go, slap her a little bit. I love her. She's clueless. But the truth of it is, I was not supposed to be in corporate America anymore. And I kept fighting it. I kept being no, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to stay. I'm going to do this thing. When in reality, my soul was like, girl, let's do the healing, work that you love so much. The mentorship, the coaching. Let's move in a new direction. And yet I was so stubborn and I was so wanting to play it safe that I kept going, oh, why does this keep happening to me? And the realization when it happened for the 4th time, I'm trying to think. I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times. By the 4th time, I finally got the message, the phone call from the universe. And I was like, hello? Oh, this is happening for okay, right. I finally was This is like, stop ignoring what's happening. I'm creating this because I don't really want to be in these jobs. I don't really want to do these things. I want to do the other stuff that I'm doing as a side hustle back in the day, you know, when I was doing psychic readings on the side. That's what I really want to be doing, but I'm too afraid to own and claim that. So I'm going to keep playing this stupid little game with the universe and getting more jobs only so that I can get laid off, so that, like, do you see where I'm going with that? Like, what a colossal waste of time. But it wasn't, because it was the lesson I needed to learn. I needed to see the way the divine sequencing works, and that I was really being given such an opportunity to follow my heart. You know, it was like, I feel like God was like patting me and saying, go do the work that you really want to do. You're not meant to do this anymore. Stop lying to yourself. So when you're integrating change, ask yourself the deeper questions. What's happening right now? Get neutral about it. Don't stay in your reactivity. It's okay to react. It's okay to be angry or whatever you're going to be for a little bit. Like, I encourage you to feel. We are women and we are messy and we have so much stuff that courses through us, right? I am. And I love to feel stuff. And I realize there comes a point where it's not productive anymore. It's a waste of my time, because it's not going to get me anywhere. It's going to actually continue. Like, if I continue past the expiration point, it's going to create suffering. And I don't want to suffer, and nor do you, because that's unnecessary. So when you could get past the emotional activity and just be with what's happening in your reality, neutral. Okay, God, like, maybe you have to put a hand to heart and your other hand on your belly. Just be like, what is this? Why is this happening? What part and role am I playing in this? And maybe it's something that you used to do in the past that's still showing up for you, that is the invitation to lock down the new energetics for your future self. Because where you're going, you can't bring in those same energetics. No. Like, I know where I'm heading, and she's a different level and version of me. She's more fiery. She's more sassy. She's more fully expressed. She's operating in a different way. So when I start to think about the ways I'm in my reality that are not aligned with that, and I go, okay, that's okay. Like, if something needs to go because it's keeping me in an old holding pattern of my past, I don't want that, and nor should you. So this probably is going to require lots of softening within yourself, loving yourself, and having fun with this game that we call life. This adventure. It should be an adventure. It should be freaking majestic. It should be so fun. Even when it's hard. I have lots of stuff going on behind the scenes that feel hard some days. And I'm just like, well, you know what? Playing a big game. So some of these things are just part of it's like the protocol, you know? So if it's the layoff for you, like my story, if it's the fallout of a relationship, if it's money issues, what is it asking you to do differently? And can you trust life and yourself? Because this whole thing is based on embodiment. Like, integrating change is about feeling safe enough in your body, trusting life to ultimately be relaxed about it. And if you don't know how to do that, then you should come play with me for a year, because that's what I teach women how to do, to get really embodied and not get so off track that they start to suffer and lose time to becoming and having the life that they truly desire. To not loop, to not question and be like, to move out of victimhood and really feel like you are so sovereign in your life, no matter what's happening outside of you. Because I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but the external reality keeps getting a little more cuckoo and crazy, if you ask me. I just keep going, when is it ever going to stop? I don't think it is. Like, I think we're past, like, you know, I think there's so much just stuff happening, so much divisiveness. And I refuse to have it in my personal life. Like, I maybe sometimes feel like I live in a bubble because I am protective of what comes into my reality, because I see what everybody else is doing out there. And I'm not talking about you necessarily, but I'm just seeing what's going on in the grander platform and you know, collective. And it's wild. And if you don't know how to ground yourself and how to forge your own path and be resilient, you could get swept up and away and lose time and lose your ability to co-create your most glorious life. So if this resonates with you and you want to know more, reach out to me and I'll share more about my mastermind. It's incredible what I've put together. It's all my expertise in this one way that I get to serve. And I'm creating a community of women who want something better, not just for themselves, but for the people around them. You know, I believe by me choosing to be my best self, then my daughters receive that, my partner receives it, my clients receive that, my, you know, and on and on and on. I'm not in this game just for me. This isn't a selfish, like, oh, become your, you know, most best self so that you can just have all the riches in the world and, you know, sit on your throne. Like, no. Being a queen and being majestic means that you are so incredibly aware of your gifts and why you're here and what you want to do with them and how you give back to humanity. Because if you're just living for yourself, it's going to feel futile in some ways. It's going to be lame. It's lame. You're not going to feel like, it's going to get old after a while. I mean, we go through this whole journey, and that's actually, I'm going to end it with that. That's the card, the world. You go on this archetypal journey. It's the hero's journey in a way. And then you figure out through all your trials and challenges and obstacles who you are. And you're not looking at it like, oh my God, my life has ruined me because it's been so hard. You look at it and been like, God damn, that thing that happened to me back then really worked out for me. Because if that hadn't happened, then I wouldn't have, like my layoffs, if that hadn't happened, I don't know how long it would have taken me to finally start my business and do what I really wanted to do. And at that time, to be somewhat of a stay-at-home mom with my children. I was working, but I got to stay home. I didn't have to go out. I used to be out in the field and traveling and do all these things in sales when I was in corporate America. And I got to literally change my life overnight. And it was just something that my heart had been silently asking for years. So when change comes, please don't be scared of it. Trust it. Ask the deeper questions. Get out of the emotional reactivity. Get neutral and get excited, because it's part of the sequencing of what you're moving towards when you can look at it that way. It's just something that's moving things around for you. I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your week. And I look forward I want to hear your comments. I would love to hear what you think, and where you're at with your creations and your reality. And I will see you soon for another Embodied Oracle show. Take care.